I had a one-night stand with his high school bully, and when I came home, it was emptied and he was gone. Have you ever had an unexpected encounter that changed your life in an instant? Well, I didn't know that my actions would actually lead to me being single. Only if I knew that he was my boyfriend's high school bully and my boyfriend hasn't healed from it. I would have tried to avoid it. I wouldn't have had a one-night stand with him. But I don't even know why I had done what I did while knowing very well that I had a boyfriend who loved me very much. But guess what I did? I took that for a ride, and now that it's gone, I am left to pick up the pieces of my stupidity. It all started when I had a chance encounter with someone from my partner's past, his high school bully. Little did I know that this unexpected meeting would lead to a series of shocking events. Sure, he once shared his high school experiences with me before, but he never told me much about his bully. The only thing he had told me was that he would never forgive him, and if he had a chance, he would avenge himself because of the damage he had done to him. My boyfriend Mitch Cole, male 27, and I, female 27, first met at a clothing store in San Jose in California. I was working as a store assistant, so that day I had to assist him in choosing some outfits that would be fit for the event that he was going to. I gave him some ideas on how and what he can wear. He appreciated my good customer service and told me that he would come back and he wants me to be his wardrobe assistant. At first I found that hilarious, so I laughed at it. A few days or a week later, I don't remember well. He came back to the store and asked for me, but unfortunately I was not at work. I was attending some home emergency. I was told by the girl that I was working with that there was a Mitch guy who wanted to see me. I was surprised by that. I didn't think the guy would actually come back. I mean, he told me that he wanted me to be his wardrobe assistant, but I didn't think he was serious. When I was back at work, I think 4 or 5 days passed and the guy came back. He told me that he had come by the previous week to look for me, but I wasn't there. He then asked for my number and told me that he wanted to call me before he came to the shop to check if I would be available, or if I would not be at work. Mitch was a charmer, a very handsome guy with cute dimples and hazel small eyes. I won't even mention his body structure, it was everything. He is fit, a bit buff. He was just everything that most girls call a dream guy. I gave him my numbers. I mean, who would deny a guy who looked like Trevor Noah, the comedian, her numbers? Since then, we started communicating through cell phones. My colleague asked me if I was dating the Mitch guy. That time I wished I was dating him. I wished we started dating the first time we saw each other. Whenever I would see him, or be next to him, or even communicate with him through social media, I would get goosebumps, you know. I would use some type of way, a way that only myself knew. I think I was in love with the guy at first glance. Was I a gone girl already? We had been into a few dates, and to say I was on top of the world would be an understatement. I was floating in clouds, my heart was beating out of a ribcage. 2 weeks later, we started dating. And I must say it was a bliss, up until it wasn't. Mitch and I shared a lot of love, happiness, and dreams. We would talk about our future goals and dreams and try to make them come true. One thing I loved about Mitch was that he didn't know when to quit. He would do the same thing over and over again until it gets to where he was. He was a very driven and passionate person, which made me fall more in love with him. We dated for a couple of years. Things were okay for the first 2 years. We were happy until we went on our 3rd year. Things started to change, Mitch started to change. I didn't know what was going on and what had made him change on me like that. He somehow got distanced, he was always at work. When I addressed the issue, he would tell me that his job is demanding. That was the reason why he was never home most of the time. Well, I had moved in with him in our 1st year of dating. I mean, our love was still in the air and I was so smitten by him. I didn't want to be away from him for too long. He was like my pain block medication, you know. The kind of love that we shared was the kind of love that we only see in movies. He was too perfect to be true. And yes, I had become his wardrobe assistant. He would always ask me to take out things he would wear when he was going out with the boys or when we were going out. Our relationship meant everything to me. I don't know if it meant something to him, but all I know is that I genuinely loved Mitch, and for just one simple mistake, he decided to just pack and leave me. I didn't know that the person I had cheated with was actually his high school bully. Mitch has lots of skeletons that he still needs to deal with. One red flag about him was that he was so secretive and full of grudges. If you do him wrong, it takes time for him to move on from that thing, and it depends on what you did. I didn't know that he was still holding a grudge of something that had happened more than 10 years ago. I understand his anger and the hatred he has towards the guy, but he had to tell me more details about the guy you know. But instead, he wouldn't want to talk about him, only the part that he hated him, and he would one day make him pay for all the pain he had caused him and the fact that he would bully him in front of other students. Mitch had a lot of anger buried on his chest. Mitch was always at work, and since I was doing remote jobs, I was always in the house, meaning I have a lot of free time to myself. At first, I understood it and stayed indoors, but as time went by, I started getting bored and lonely. Mitch would sometimes not come back home for maybe a whole week, going with work since he was working as an archaeologist. He told me that it had been his dream job since he was young, and I was glad and proud of him that he chose to follow his dreams and made it a reality. But his job was just too demanding for my liking. At times, I would miss my boyfriend and need him, but he wouldn't be anywhere. He would be out there in the mountains or wherever they were going to when doing their research about ancient history. He would even switch off his phone and be unreachable. At first, when he was unreachable for like 5 days, I got really worried. I had thought something had happened to him, you know. Time went by and his ongoing and unending trips got to me, and it affected our relationship, and even our intimate moments were no longer the same. You know the pain of being an intimacy addict, but your partner is nowhere to be found and you are forced to help yourself at times. I got tired of helping myself. I needed my man, but he was not there. Even when he was around, he was always tired. We would go for just one round and that was it. He was sexually making me hungry and I didn't want to go and seek it outside our relationship. But I missed the intimacy, the touches, kissing and all that. I didn't want it to end with me going outside our relationship and committing something that would jeopardize my relationship with Mitch. I had tried so many times to seduce Mitch, but he was just not giving in. I remember one day when he was coming from Africa, when he had gone with his work, I prepared him a very nice dinner and prepared myself to give him a mind-blowing welcome home. I tried making him look at the sexy number that I was wearing, but the dude just slept. Okay, I understood that. I told myself that maybe he was jet-lagged, so he needed some rest. I knew that on the 2 following days he wouldn't be going to work, so I would give him the day that he arrived, and the following one to rest. Then I would try again on a Sunday. I thought that he would surely have well rested, and he would give me his attention and bring back the spark that we once had in our relationship. The second day, Sunday, arrived. I prepared some lunch for him, and later on I wore my second sexy number to seduce my man. The man of the house just told me that he was tired, only if he knew how much I had been desiring some intimacy with him. I missed him and our love-making sessions, or sometimes they go rough when we decide to go wild. I missed all the action that he was giving our relationship. Time went on, and I started getting tired of waiting for Mitch to notice my efforts in our relationship. It felt like I was in it alone, and I was the only one contributing love in it. Yes, I loved and still love Mitch a lot, but sometimes love alone is just not good enough. Love needs attention, time, and perseverance, and to be sure that you are both in it. Imagine being in love or staying in love with someone hoping that they would change their bad behavior and would eventually give you the attention that you need. So you end up being patient and decide to pull up with the bullsh asterisk that your partner is doing. Some end up losing themselves while doing that, and I refused to lose myself while waiting for Mitch to change. I decided to also change and go back to my old self that was stress-free, carefree, and lived her life like it's the last day. I had told myself that I would start by going to do some shopping. After I had finished with shopping, I would go on solo dates and maybe visit nightclubs just to unwind and let loose a little. One Friday night, I had been bored in the house the whole day, and my boyfriend Mitch was not even there. He had mentioned going to one of his friends' houses, since he was going through a tough time of losing a parent. I understood that, and told him that he should go and support his friend, and make sure that he comes back when he is in the right state of mind. I know how losing a parent is. You sometimes end up doing stupid things that you would regret later just because you are grieving and want to numb the pain of losing someone. Anyway, that Friday night, I dressed in my short and revealing outfit. I was going to a party and dancing, so I needed something that would make me feel free. When I got into the club, I decided to stay by the bar so I would be able to order anything that I wanted. The music that was playing was so good and relaxing. I somehow felt like it was what I had needed. It was so smooth and soothing. Later on, some DJ came and changed the slow jam that was playing and played some dance songs. Mind you, at that time I was starting to get tipsy. So imagine playing a dance song while tipsy, you would end up intoxicated. I had also ordered some hookah to add some fun. As I was dancing to music and drinking my beverage and smoking my hookah, a tall, sexy, and slim-fit guy came to the bar. He ordered some shooters for himself. I tried talking to him since he was sitting next to me. He ended up joining me, then we drank like sharks. We danced and had so much fun. While we were still talking, I asked the guy his name, and he told me that he was Bruce Thompson, male 29. I won't lie and say I didn't have a good time with Bruce, because I did. I had the best time of my life. So after midnight, Bruce decided that we would take our mini party and continue with it in his hotel room, since it was not far from the club. I agreed to go with him. I wouldn't be able to drive in my intoxicated state. So when we arrived in his hotel room, our mini party continued. We drank so much to a point that I felt my private part twitching. Bruce and I played some games, and within minutes we kissed. His lips were so soft and juicy. Things escalated to a point where our clothes were flying. No one was thinking about anything. We were in our moment, and it was great. The guy explored my whole body like he was exploring his favorite country. He was like a drug in my body. My body was giving in to every touch that he was doing, every sweet word that he was saying to the commands that he was making. The intimate moment that I had with Bruce was on another level. He made sure that I was satisfied with every action that he was taking. The intimate moment was, I don't know how I can put it, but I think it would be magical. Because it was truly and unbelievably magical. It was something that I had long desired that my boyfriend had been failing to do the whole time. Imagine going on intimacy hunger for over 3 months because your man is busy making excuses when you try to make him meet your desires and cravings. When I finally had some intimacy with Bruce, I felt like I had some sort of a web in my private area, and it had dust. That's how much I had last had such a mind-blowing lovemaking, even though it's from a one-night stand, but it still counts, right? I was doing something wrong, and if Mitch was to find out about it, a lot would be destroyed, and I would lose him. I knew that I had to tread carefully. I hoped that Mitch wouldn't find out. But who was I fooling? Worst part is that the person that I had just cheated with, my one-night stand, actually knew Mitch, and another thing he knew about my relationship with him. You know, sometimes we do things driven by our desires, not knowing that we were actually baiting on some rival that your partner and the person that you cheat with actually have a history, and the rival is somehow not over. I had just committed an abomination and had a one-night stand with someone who used to bully my partner in high school. Mind you, I found that out way too late when I had already done the worst. The following day, I went back home, and to my surprise, I found my boyfriend Mitch preparing breakfast for himself, I think. Regret washed over me the same time I saw my boyfriend. I regretted cheating on him with a stranger at that time, but I was not regretting the climaxes and explorations that I had experienced the previous. It was just on top of the world. Few days passed, and I decided to just get some fresh air and go to the mall to unwind and have some solo date. And when I came home later that day, I was in for an even bigger shock. I found Mitch looking at his phone like he had seen a ghost. So I got curious about what he was watching on his phone. I decided to ask what was going on and why was he looking so spooked. I will never forget the expression that he gave me. You know, if looks were able to murder someone and bury them, then by Mitch's look, I would have long been murdered and buried. He gave the look that had mixed emotion on it. I saw hurt, rage, and somehow disappointment in him. That time, he didn't tell me anything until I went to him and asked what was wrong while taking his phone. When I took his phone, I saw the most shocking and unexpected thing ever. A video, well, a CCTV footage of me and Bruce in a hotel room getting it down. Everything was visible, and every act was recorded as it was. I didn't know what to say nor do. I just got tongue-tied and my heart beating out of the ribcage. There was actually no way of denying that I had cheated on my boyfriend. Even if I wanted to deny it, but I wouldn't be able to. I mean, the whole evidence of my abomination was there, on his cell phone, and I was doing all the wrong things to another man, a man that I had found at the club. How could I be such a fool and careless? I gave myself some courage to just apologize to Mitch for what I had done. I had hoped that maybe he would ask what I did, but he did the most unthinkable thing ever. The way he was hurt and angry, I knew there and then that I had destroyed my relationship with the only man that I truly love. I begged and knelt on my knees trying to apologize to him, but he just looked at me like I was pouring petroleum in an already blazing fire. As I was still on my knees like that, crying and begging and telling him how much I had never meant to hurt him and how much I loved him. Without any warning, I felt my cheek getting hot. As I was still confused about that action, he did it again. It was so unbelievable, like I was in great shock. I couldn't believe that Mitch had actually slapped me, not once, but twice. I asked why he was slapping me. He started calling me names and told me how cheap I was. He was so enraged to a point that he called me a body seller and asked how I could sleep with someone I don't even know. I didn't know how I would answer his bombarding questions, so I just kept quiet. He furthered by asking if I knew the person that I had slept with, made love with. My mind got so confused, and I wanted to know who I had slept with. He told me that he would never trust me again, and if it was in other cases, I would have let him get killed by his enemies. He asked how I could cheat with his high school bully and if I knew the damage and satisfaction that I had caused just by sleeping with his enemy. I told that I didn't know and I was sorry. He then got really angry and told me that he cannot be under the same roof as me because I have shown that I was untrustworthy. And he didn't know what I would do to him while he was sleeping if I knew how to open my legs for his sworn enemy. I was so heartbroken and shuddered by each and every word that he was uttering to me. Sure, I had done him wrong in the worst way possible, but how could he say such hurtful things to me? I don't even want to mention the part where he called me a body seller and told me that I would murder him someday because I was untrustworthy. Well, those words hit deep, and I don't even think that I would ever move on from them. They tore my heart into small, unfixable pieces. Later on that day, after he had said a lot of hurtful and harsh words, he told me that he wanted nothing to do with me, and I should go back and enjoy Bruce's D***** because I am no longer his girlfriend. That was the last straw, I begged him while kicking and crying. I didn't want him to leave me. I was regretting everything that I had done, and I couldn't believe that Bruce would actually send Mitch such a video, then post it on TikTok. Imagine going viral for the bad and nasty thing. My reputation and self-dignity was shuttered. Mitch left the house and went wherever that he went to. I was so heartbroken, I would cry myself to sleep every day. I lost appetite and even the energy to go on. I felt like my whole world had crushed on me. The only thing that had kept me going and made me able to sleep was a bottle of whiskey and vodka. I didn't want any wine or whatever that wasn't strong. I wanted no one to come and try to see me or feel pity for me. The way I was so depressed and hurt, one would swear I had lost my mind. I stayed indoors and never opened for anyone that was knocking. I was grieving my relationship and it was painful. Up until a few weeks later, I decided to stop feeling sorry for myself. I had thought I had moved on and forgave everyone, but I was fooling myself. So I tried going to the mall to get some air, but as I was still at the mall, I fainted and woke up in the hospital. The doctor told me that I was dehydrated and depressed and referred me to the therapist. My mother was so worried and disappointed in me, and I didn't blame her. So I started therapy, which I am still attending even today. And I would say that it is helping me a bit, but I don't think I will move on from Mitch anytime soon. I love that guy. He was my source of happiness. I realized that later when he was already gone and there was nothing I would actually do to get him back. I still miss him so much. I had realized that Mitch wasn't the one who drove me to his enemy's bed, but my greed and desire did. Please help me with some advices. I do want to move on from everything, but it's hard, and I didn't think I'll be able to at this moment. What should I do?